Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name is Lorene. I'm glad that you're here for another update from the camp. It's been a whirlwind. I'll tell you about that at the end. Well, we went to Lunenburg for our annual book shopping event for Steve's birthday. And one of the things we came away from is the restaurant that we usually go to, which I won't mention, has just seemed to have dropped the ball as far as quality goes. So next year there will be the additional excitement of searching for a different lunch spot. Well, you know, last year in the winter I had an amazing book haul, and this time not so much. I ended up with one book from each bookstore, and they're good books though, so that's all right. The first one that I picked up from the Block Bookshop, because it's on the back, otherwise I'd never remember, is Death Comes to Marlowe by Robert Thorogood, which is book 2. The first one was the Marlowe Murder Club. So this has Judith, Susie, and Bex, who have had a fairly quiet time and, you know, thinking, oh, I guess that's the end of the murders. Should we, you know, Murder Club isn't very active, which I guess is a good thing. Anyhow, they come across another murder, which is one of those locked door murders. The victim has been in his study, and like a huge bookcase has fallen on top of him. And so how did the bookcase get tipped over with no one in the room? Windows are locked, doors are locked. So like, what are the mechanics on that? And until that can be proved, it's just going to be deemed an accident. And Tanaka, who was the acting sergeant, they call them different in the UK. So not the detective, but inspector, sergeant or something. She was taking over for her superior, so that's why she was able to be the leading detective in the previous book. And in this one, she's been kind of back to her role because she was just a momentary thing. And her ability to follow along with the murder club and feed them information and all the rest of it is very curtailed. So she has to be kind of sneaky. So there's that kind of fun going on. And the murder club, of course, is just very sneaky all the time. I think this is a better mystery than the first one. I really enjoyed the first one, but I think that this one has a tighter plot line, and the anxiety around it is a little bit higher. So there's like the tension levels are a little bit higher. And I would say that the three main characters, what is that? Oops, wrong book. Judith, Susie, and Bex. Well, Susie is the one who maintains her sort of persona the best. The other two are a bit quieter in their personas. I mean, they still are who they were in the first book, but in this book, they're just a gentler version of themselves, which is a bit too bad. I quite liked the eccentricities of Judith, and the Bex is a vicar's wife who's just very preoccupied with doing all the correct things all the time. So she had this kind of neurotic persona. And Susie is this just very flat-footed, you know, like feet on the earth kind of a person, and no nonsense, and says what she thinks kind of a person, and which often is completely inappropriate most of the time. So anyways, they're just a little bit softer than they were, but I still really like this. And a lot of people have liked that other, what is that called? The Tuesday night Murder Club or something? I can't remember. Anyways, it's the one with the all the people living in the seniors' home, and I don't like that series very much, but I will say that I have totally enjoyed this one. Robert Thorogood gets my A+. Okay, the other book I picked up, and this one was from Lunenburg Bound, is called Thistlefoot. Great cover, eh? It's just a wonderful cover. That's what really captured me. Jenna Rose Nethercott. And this is Well, it's kind of a suspense, kind of a mystery. I'm only halfway through it. These two guys are brother and sister, and they are the Yaga family. And we've got the tree that Baba Yaga used. It's not a tree; it's a house. The house that Baba Yaga used to have, and this being, because it is sentient, it was in a storage locker, and she didn't want that storage locker opened until about 80 years after her death. And so it's been sent to Vermont. Yes, I think it's been sent to Vermont. And these two brothers, the brother and sister who are estranged, have picked it up, and they've come up with a deal on the sister wants it. She feels very much at home in it. She feels like it's really her place. And the brother just doesn't want to have any responsibilities. He's like a true traveler. He's just always on the move, never anywhere for more than about 2 months. And so they've come up with this idea about how to, she's going to buy him out of the house. And so they've got a history with their parents of being puppet theaters. You know, they puppeteers, and so as kids, that's what their livelihood was. So they're very well trained in the puppet theater. And so the puppet theater and Baba Yaga's house are all part of, they're going to be a traveling theater. She's going to buy the house from him. But of course, there's an evil being. There's people chasing the evil being. The brother and sister, like at this point in the story, because I'm only about 30% of the way through, don't know what's happening in the background, and so you know, the two are coming closer together, and boom, I'm sure that's going to happen. And the house is sentient, which is very cool. It's kind of like some people really like those murder mysteries where the house is actually the evil character. I'm thinking a little bit of Sylvia Marcia Gomez? Garcia, Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Did I say that right? Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I think that's right. And she had the Gothic Mexican mystery. The house was you know, part of the deal, part of the evilness. So this one is not evil, but it has its own agenda, which is really fun. Now, Steve, on the other hand, had quite a shopping list. And I don't really know... I'm sorry, he didn't have a shopping list. He had shopping success. So he's got several books here. And I'll just kind of whiz through them because I know there's some of you people who like what he purchases. Okay, this is A Spirit Deep Within, Naval Architect, W.J. Rouet, and the Blue Nose Story. And it's written by Joan Rouet, a family member. And he, I guess, was the architect. Designed a schooner whose performance as a working and racing vessel would make her name and image immortal, the Blue Nose. So it's, I guess it's about the building of the ship and the design and that. Some of the specifications, I think at the back there's a couple of charts that have the specifications. The Age of Wood by Roland Enos. Our most useful material and the construction of civilization. And so this, as you can tell by the cover, is going to take a maritime focus on things. And just, you know, like how the world was developed partly through the process of sail and boats and wood's unique properties and just, yeah, as tools, as a housing and as fuel and, you know, as sacred objects and just all those kinds of things. So I think it's a really good overview of just where wood is in our lives as tool-using beings. It sounds good. That, to me, sounds like a good winter one. Now, this one's a little bit different, and we picked it up for our daughter for a stocking stuffer, so don't listen, Phoebe. Close your ears. This is Frances Barclay, and it is by Kathy Converse. This is an 18th century female seafarer. At the age of 16, she fell in love with Charles Barkley, who was about 10 years older than her, and went to sea with him for 8 years. He had been part of the one of the captains for the East India Company, and switched allegiance and went to a different, more private entrepreneurs. And so it's his time at sea as a merchant ship, and she's with him for 8 years, and it's based on fact, but it's what do you call that? It's like creative nonfiction. So it's light. I read the first chapter. It's not a demanding read. I think it's quite simple. And you know what? I think it's by the publisher's Heritage House, from their subcategory Amazing Stories. And I think, you know, if you've got someone in your life who's looking for some interesting female heroes and that sort of thing for school projects and whatnot, I think this would be great. This is an absolutely great unknown lady. And there's a very thorough index at the back and bibliography, glossary. It's a very extensive bibliography and footnotes as well. So it's a very good source. All right, we've got The Long Way by Bernard Moitessier, I think. Whoops. Sheridan House Maritime Classics. And this one is his story of Bernard's participation in the first Golden Globe race, a solo non-stop circumnavigation rounding the 3 great capes of Good Hope, Lewin, and the Horn. For 7 months, the veteran seafarer battled storms, doldrums, gear failures, knockdowns, as well as an overwhelming fatigue and loneliness. Then, nearing the finish, Moitessier pulled out of the race and sailed on for another 3 months before ending his 37,000-mile journey in Tahiti. Not once did he touch land. And I believe, I'm pretty sure there's a story in here around at the ending of the race, something very dramatic happened. Okay, Heaven's Breath, A Natural History of the Wind by Lyle Watson. Cool cover. Wind is everywhere and nowhere. Wind is the circulatory system of the earth and its nervous system too. Energy and information flow through it. It brings warmth, water, enriches and strips away soils. Wind shapes the lives of animals and humans. Trades follow the path of the winds, and so on. It's an encyclopedic and enchanting book that opens dazzling new perspectives on history, nature, and humanity. Sounds cool. The printing kind of discouraged me. It looks a little bit textbooky, but we'll find out. I think, yeah, maybe I'll read the first chapter and report back. Okay. An Honest Living, a novel by Dwyer Murphy, author of The Stolen Coast. And this is sort of a thriller, kind of thriller mystery. After leaving behind the comforts and shackles of a prestigious law firm, a restless attorney makes ends meet by picking up odd jobs from a colorful assortment of clients. When a mysterious woman named Anna offers him $10,000 in cash to track down her missing husband, an antiquarian bookseller who she believes has been pilfering rare true crime volumes from her collection, he trusts it will end quickly and easily. But then the real Anna Ridrick and a magnetic and unpredictable literary prodigy land on his doorstep with a bone to pick. So that sounds cool. And then this one is for you boat-loving geeky geeks, because the boats they sailed in, and it is by John Stephen Doherty, and it is about 14 celebrated voyages, but it's, I mean, the people who were sailing, I think, just happened to be on the sidelines. I think it's all about the boats. It's, you know, it has quite a lot of technical stuff in it, and I think that there's also some sort of travel history with related to the adventures of those particular sailors, but it's definitely nautical in its flavor. So those were Steve's. Well, I've been talking for about 15 minutes roughly, and for those of you who are finished with the boat, I'm sorry, not boat, the book chat, I'm going to tell a story, and So if you don't want to listen to the story, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Now, for those of you who like a rollicking tale, I had one, except it was more like a rolling tale. The other day, Steve asked me, because of safety things, we've encouraged him to get a cell phone, and he's in his little sailboat out there and has his cell phone and texts me, would I please get a piece of equipment from the back room? And it was an oar lock, and he'd lost an oar lock, and he had a spare one. Would I bring it to him? So, okay, sure, that was fine. And now, as of that moment, I was having a really calm existence. I was reading The Thistlefoot, and I was knitting or listening to an audiobook, just kind of rotating around those things, getting ready for my little 3 o'clock scotch and a chocolate cookie. And he says, can you bring the oar lock? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I've still got my reading glasses on. So I walk out to the road, and for those of you who've seen, there's this causeway embankment thing. And on the far side of that is the cove where Steve's got his boat moored. And at low tide, that wall is about, I don't know, I'm going to say it's 10 feet. It's about from the road top down to the bottom. It's about 10 feet. And at high tide, less. So I think there was 3 or 4 feet of water. And so I look at the path that he has created for himself to get down to the water, and I'm thinking, oh, I'll just walk down there to the bottom and wait for him to pull the boat in, and I can hand it over, because if I throw it, it's going to land in the water, and then we've got 2 oarlocks in the water. So that's not a good plan. That's what I'm thinking all about. So I look down at the steps and I think to myself, wow, that's surprisingly safe. I mean, Steve usually creates these things with such tight limitations and tight constraints, but this was like wide and flat and everything. So I take the first step and, everything's fine. Take the second step. Well, these glasses did me wrong. The depth perception was completely off. I thought it was just another step. No, it was like double. And so my foot went down and I just kept going. And so I had to roll down 8 feet of boulders. And yeah, it was wild. Landed in the water at the bottom. Now, you're talking to someone who's like, even just telling the story, my throat closes up, because what upset me most was being in the water. There's all these creatures and things. There's Steve. It's like, holy shit, like they're going to touch me. I'm going to touch weeds. I'm going to touch mud. I'm just like in a complete panic around being in this water. And I knew that it was fairly shallow where I had landed. So I'm thinking, swim to the boat because it's deeper. And then he can reel it in and I can get out. And as I'm swimming to him, I'm thinking, well, a couple things are going through my head. Like, first of all, God damn, so excuse my French, this water is really nice. And for someone who like abhors being in any kind of water with living creatures, it was like not a fun discovery that the water was really nice. Swimming along, and I get to the side of the boat, and as I'm getting closer to the boat, I'm realizing just how much damage I've done. And except in getting to the boat, I've also swum through the lines, and so my head and shoulders are all caught in the lines that he uses to moor the boat with. And I get to the side of the boat, and I'm like, I want in, I want in, I want in. There's like not any calmness going on at all. And he's going like, if you keep coming, you're going to strangle yourself. You've got to let go and let me unwind you from the ropes. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, yeah, you got to do that. And so finally he gets me unwound, and I get sort of on the gunnel. I've got my arm and my leg over top of the gunnel to try and roll in, which is when I realized just how much damage I've done to my arm and leg. So, yeah, there I hung for a little while we were trying to figure out how I was going to get in the boat, because there was no way I was letting go. I didn't know how deep we were. I didn't know if I sort of dropped down in order to swing to get the good side up. I thought, I'm going to touch things, I'm going to touch things. And so it was just kind of a shit show for the next 10 minutes. I really sort of don't know exactly what happened between getting into the boat and he pulled the thing close to the shore, and then I don't know how I got out of the boat and onto the boulders, but that happened. And then I couldn't put any weight on my arm or my leg, and so I don't really know how I got up that incline on just one arm and leg, but I think he did a lot of shoving. So anyways, from there on, it was just your typical trip to your merge, and no broken bones, lots of tissue damage, and the amazing thing, like there's a couple amazing things. He found my glasses the next morning, which just was the rose on the amazing things that went well. So that was great because I really didn't have anything else to be living with. But working backwards, because it was more than a 6-foot fall, I ended up being seen just like amazingly fast. They put me in a neck brace because had I done any damage. But the other thing was that on the way down, I saw the rock coming towards me and kind of pushed off. So that ended up like in another roll, if you like. So I didn't do any damage to my face or my head or the back of my head or anything. And where I landed, because the water was so high, I didn't hit a rocky bottom, which would have happened if it'd been low tide. So it was like all these little things were just happening that were just like, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck. And yeah, so the other, I mean, I'm exhausted. I'm actually, putting on a face because it's TV time, but I am exhausted. And so I'm going to have a nice nap after this. But, one of the things I got thinking about was, first I go dark. I tend to go deep and dark. Oh, what is the universe trying to tell me? I should just stop doing this. It's like, what a roadblock, blah, 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 blah. And then Steve says to me, maybe the universe, because you had all those lucky things happen to you on the way down. It's like, you still have good things to do. There's still a few good years in you. Don't take them for granted. So I'm going to go with that. It's a much more positive outlook that, boy, was I ever lucky. And have I ever got still things to say and do and have fun with? And having said that, I would really like to have an adventure that doesn't involve engines blowing up or body parts being harmed, or because this hasn't happened yet, let's just, do a timeout and say, please, like no buildings burning or flooding, or just like, can we have an adventure like a lot of other people where they say, oh, we're going to go skiing, and they come home back in one piece. And nothing goes wrong, and they don't have food poisoning. I'd like that kind of adventure now, and so, yeah, I think that's my goal for next year. 2024 is going to be the year of harm-free adventure. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just get a lawn chair and put it in front of the furnace with a little Mai Tai and just pretend I'm in Florida. Anyways, that's my adventure. And Steve's adventure, and I think Steve's like emotionally shattered from this too, because he just saw me going down that hill and thinking, oh my God, is she going to come up? Like, what the heck? What if she's hurt her head? Anyhow, he was pretty stressed too. So we're both just taking, this is about 3 days ago now. I still can't really walk on the left leg, but my arm's a lot better, and I can pinch things now. So, yeah, things are coming along nicely, and naps help really well. And it's going to be rainy any minute now, so that just helps to be napping. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and that there are no paper cuts in your week. Bye-bye for now. Well, P.S. I had this joke in mind. I was going to suggest that if any of you want to send me, a dozen roses for getting well, I'm up for that. Just mention it in the comments below, and I'll send you my address. A dozen roses.